Lay out all 8 of your 80 centimetre cards and we're going to tie a wrap knot around 2 centimetres from the top here. Okay, so you're going to gather all of those cards, making sure that they're all lined up at one end. And then take a separate card, I'm doing it here in a different colour. Lay that over the top and make a loop like so. Now take the long end, we're going to wrap that around all of the cards, remembering that we want to be 2 centimetres below the top. So you're going to wrap that around nice and tight and make sure that you've got 6 wraps around all of these cards. And once you've reached 6 there, you're going to take this long end and you're going to stick that through the loop you created at the beginning. Okay, and now hold that nice and secure and then pull the other end of this card. And as you pull that, the loop is going to disappear up inside the wrap. Okay, and that holds this nice and secure. Now I'm going to just take a pair of scissors and chop off those loose ends here. Not the top of the bookmark, just the loose ends from the wrap knot. Now you've done your wrap knot and got all your cards held together, you're going to secure the bookmark in place. One option for this is a clipboard, which is a really great option if you're working on your lap, sort of sitting on the sofa. Another option is that you could use tape. Now that's what I'm going to do here. Or if you've just got some pins, you could pin this to a cushion. But I'm going to use tape and tape this to the table. The reason we're going to secure this is just so that when you're tying the rest of your knots, you're going to be using both hands. So you want to make sure that it's not just sliding all over the place as you're tying them. That would get really, really annoying. And you're going to need some good tension in the knots. So make sure you've got that secured. And then we're going to start tying square knots, which are going to make up the majority of our bookmark. So for the first row, we're just going to do one square knot. We want that to be in the centre. So remove 2 cards out to the left and 2 cards out to the right. And you want to use ones that naturally feel like they're on the left and the right, so nothing's crossing over. We're going to tie the knot with the 4 cards that you'll have left in the centre. So to tie this knot, we're going to tie it with the most left and right cards of the group, and these 2 in the middle are going to be our centre cards that we tie the knot around. So with your left card, bring it over the top of the centre cards and then lay the right card over the end of that tail. You'll then bring the right card up through the loop that your left card has created, and that goes behind the centre cards. Then pull that nice and tight right up to the top so that it meets that wrap knot. And now with the right card, lay that over the top of your centre cards, and then your left card lays it over the tail of that first card. You'll then bring that behind everything, through the loop your right card created, and pull that nice and tight to meet the other half of the knot. And that is one square knot completed. So we now need to do the second row of our bookmark. The second row is going to be 2 square knots. So split the cards coming out of your knot into half, so you should now have 2 groups of 4 if you bring back in the cards we discounted earlier. So working on the left first, you're just going to tie another square knot here. So again we bring the left card over the 2 centre cards, the right card over the tail, and then we bring that behind everything and up through the loop created by the left card. Now when you pull this tight, you want it to butt up against the knot above, like so, but you don't want to pull it so tight that it goes diagonal. Keep that nice and straight and level. Okay, so we're just tying the second half of the square knot here, and then pull that nice and tight. Okay, so you can see how that's up against the other square knot, but there's some loose cord on the left hand side of it. That's perfect, that's what we're looking for here. Okay, so we're now going to do the second knot on this row. Again, we're going to take that left cord over the centre cords, the right cord over the tail, and then up behind everything and pull that through the loop. Pull that nice and tight. Again, butt it up to the knot above, but you want to keep the cord nice and loose on the right there. Repeat that to do the second half of the square knot now. Okay, so you can see that this knot is level to the one we just created, so that's two knots next to each other. So you see how we've made kind of a triangle there. So for our third row, we're going to go back to tying one knot. Okay, so again, we're going to remove those two most left cords and those two most right cords, and we're going to tie row 3 with these 4 cords in the center. Okay, so now you're going to do another row with 2 knots, the same as you did previously. And then you're going to keep going like that, alternating between rows of 1 square knot, then 2 square knots, then 1 square knot. And you're going to keep doing that until you've got a total of 21 rows. Okay, so that should be 11 rows of 1 square knot and 10 rows with 2 square knots. When you've got your 21 rows, you should end back on a single square knot. Now that you've completed your 21 rows of square knots, you can go ahead and just unsecure this because we're going to tie another wrap knot now. Okay, so you've got your wrap knot on one end, your 21 square knots, and then this end with lots of loose cords. So you're going to gather those ends together and you're going to take your other 0.5 metre cord. Now this time we want the wrap knot to butt right up against the bookmark, so instead of leaving any gap, you're going to make that loop and start wrapping right underneath that bottom square knot. Okay, and again we're going to do 6 wraps here. Okay, and then again once you've got those 6 wraps, you're going to pull the end of the cord through the loop, hold that nice and secure, and pull the other end of the wrap knot to pull the loop up inside the wrap. Okay, and then again we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to trim those ends from the wrap knot. Okay, now we just need to trim the ends of the bookmark. So we're going to trim this to around 2 centimetres so that it matches what we did on the other end. So if we measure 2 centimeters and then just chop those ends. Okay, so at this point we do have a completed macrame bookmark. Now this next part is optional, but if you want you can take a comb or a brush. We can brush out the ends to make them nice and fluffy. So if you want to do this, you can either use a special macrame brush, which I have. I got mine from Woolly Whatnot if you'd like to buy one. Or you can use a pet brush, one of the ones with the metal bristles. Or you could just use a regular comb. So what you're going to do is take your brush or comb and you're just going to start brushing at those ends. And as you brush them, they get nice and loose and they turn lovely and fluffy. So you don't have to do this, you can just leave the bookmark as it was. It's just a nice optional fluffy little touch. Now, if you do decide to brush out your ends, you might notice that it makes them look a little fluffy on the end or a little uneven. So you can then just take your scissors again and just tidy those up. And that just creates a nice flat end. Okay, so there you go. I hope you've enjoyed making your macrame bookmark.